Ravens 35, Giants 14. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Schoen, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And the Giants fall to 2-12. 9 straight losses ties their record, and they'll go. And they'll. The 9 straight losses ties their record, and they'll go for it next week. 0-8 at home while averaging 10 points per game at home. Another blowout loss, and another plane stating, Mr. Mayor, we won't stop until you fire everyone. Oh, and the plane guy, as long as the ants, calls us in 15 minutes, is going to be joining the show. Justin, how are you?
Hey, Bobby Skinner. Nice to hear from you. Nice to see you. Nice to see everybody in the chat now. We go live on YouTube for our game recaps. I didn't want to go today. I woke up this morning, and if I didn't have to do some stuff for Corona that I had to film and do, and also it's been cool. I take a lot of pride in being the first person to post the plane the last 2 weeks. Very funny. Very funny experience. I almost wish I was a third party looking at myself when I parked my car at MetLife, just like perpetually just looking up every 30 seconds. It was quite the sight if you saw me. But yeah, we captured the plane. We did Corona, and then we watched another football game, and Tim Boyle comes in and shows a little moxie and shows that spark that Brian Daboll's been looking for any quarterback besides Daniel Jones. How about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, when you lose 9 straight games, Justin, you bench and then release the quarterback who ends up, was the best on your roster despite the fact not being good. And then all your defensive talent is, injured towards the end of the season, and then other guys are. It's just this is what we are right now. We're a loser team. That's basically, giving up. Obviously, they're not tanking on purpose. They're not losing on purpose. With jobs on the line, nobody is. Guys want to go out there and get their numbers and everything that goes with that. But it's just you go into a Sunday game and you expect to get blown out by the Ravens. Like when you look at the final score, 35-14, you think that's a little better than what I was expecting, right? Or a team as bad as the Saints, you almost beat them. You're like, man, I'm kind of shocked that they almost beat them, right? Can they beat the Atlanta Falcons, who are really bad right now, next week? That's just what you get when you are when you are a 2021 end of season level team. Like that's what they are. The end of 2021, Justin, this is what we went into these games going, saying this is what it is. The only difference is we knew the GM was gone after 2021. We didn't know about the head coach. The only difference is we're just on GM head coach watch for the next 3 weeks now.
Yeah, and the phrase that Dan Duggan used on our quote unquote preview pod that wasn't a preview pod on Friday was losing quietly. And this is something that we've been talking about basically since Daniel Jones has been was benched and then released. What the Giants did in 2021 until the Commanders game, until the QB sneak, is that they lost quietly. And then they became the national embarrassment. And then on top of that, Joe Judge's rant and all that kind of stuff. It all just
the last 2 weeks is the Bears press conference and then the QB sneaks, and those are the two moments that put them out there.
However, for this year's Giants, the national embarrassment kind of started in Hard Knocks. It started this summer. It started with Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles and seeing all the behind the scenes stuff, and then it's just snowballed. It snowballed for an entire year, man. An entire year where you see what Barkley's doing. You see the how the whole Jones things went down. You see Xavier McKinney leading the league in interceptions, and the plane. And now of course the icing on the top of this year is back-to-back home games. They haven't won a home game yet this year. First time since 1974 or 1972. I think it's 74 that they're probably not going to win a game at home. And that wasn't even that was 0 for 7. They didn't even have a 16-game season yet. And of course, they'll be the first team to go 0 for 9 at home in the first 3 years of this new schedule. So it's bad, man. I really, man, I last night I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the game. I'll do whatever. If I didn't have to do the Corona stuff, and if I didn't have to go to do stuff that I had to do, I would have stayed home, and I would have been totally fine with that. And it takes a lot. I'm like, oh, no shit, Justin. It takes a lot for me to say that, man. I've been through a lot of losing years. I've been through more losing seasons than winning seasons as a Giants fan and as a Giants season ticket holder. I don't mind going to see a bad game. I just had no desire to go today. But I did, and it happened, and we saw it, and we may talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, and I actually do want to talk about some of the gameplay, and then, like I said, the guy who paid for the second plane will be joining us in about 10 minutes. He'll call in, and we're not going to spend 30 minutes with him, but just 5 minutes to not put a face to the plane, but at least a voice and what he's trying to portray with that. But yeah, Tim Boyle, like it's so sad that I know somebody that knows Tim Boyle, Justin.
Yep.
And I was like, can you tell him that it's refreshing to see a quarterback who at least knows what you're supposed to do? Like, he may not always be able to do it, but he knows what you're supposed to do, and can at least one read and go on some of these things. Can read a defense halfway decently. Knows where knows if the safety lines up here, this is where we should go. That's sad. It's so sad that Tim Boyle is the guy who's like, oh my gosh, this is the guy who we get to have some fake fun with.
He's the fourth quarterback to throw a pass for the Giants this season, and that hasn't happened. I think 1992 or 1993 was the last time. After Parcells
1992,
retired.
best year of my life.
Yeah, was it the year that you were born?
Yes.
There you go. Best year of the world that Bobby Skinner was born. Yeah, so 4 quarterbacks have attempted a pass for the Giants this year, and this is. I was walking away from this game and walking back to my car, and I'm like, damn it, I found another thing to get pissed off with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen about. And this is what it is that Tim Boyle, the 4th quarterback to touch the ball for the Giants this year, he somehow is and was the quarterback that looked the most comfortable and confident throwing the ball. Now, he may start next week, Bobby, and it may be a disaster. It probably will be a disaster if he does play. But somehow Tim Boyle, who's been here for a couple weeks and a month, throws a football, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the most comfortable and confident a quarterback has been all year. And I go back to this talking point. Since week 1, man, week 1, the in-house Giants media and the Giants as a franchise have framed Daniel Jones as enemy number 1. Now, maybe rightfully so. Daniel Jones is not an answer, and also Daniel Jones is not a scapegoat. That's not what I'm trying to say. But even Bob Papa, for the first time in 6 years, I was shocked to hear this after week 1, then that loss to the Vikings, hearing the Giants' in-house radio team saying, oh, I don't know, maybe Daniel Jones isn't a quarterback that can elevate people. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's coming from people up top. That's what we want you to say. That's the narrative of this year, right? So if that was the narrative this year, Bobby, that Daniel Jones, we're going to frame him as enemy number 1, we're going to frame him as the face of failure, your backup plan for when you were going to go away from Daniel Jones was Drew Lock, who you chose not to play right away. You chose to play DeVito over him, and then DeVito gets hurt. Then you put Drew Lock in, and then DeVito gets healthy. You stick with Drew Lock, and then Drew Lock gets hurt again, and then you go back to DeVito, and then DeVito gets hurt, and now we have Tim Boyle. 4 quarterbacks have touched the ball, and somehow we're refreshed by Tim Boyle. That is bad. If Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll, Daniel Jones is the face of failure. How do you not have some sort of backup plan that you are somewhat confident in? And why is Tim Boyle the breath of fresh air? That's really bad, man. Found a new thing to talk about how bad it is. Can't believe it.
Yeah, they've put themselves in this situation. There could have been better alternatives for Daniel Jones going to the bench. I don't want to go revisit that whole decision, but in the moment I was like, hey, I still think I think they still believe he is their best option. But with that injury guarantee looming, and you're 2-8 or whatever it was when they benched him, they're 2-8. It's you kind of have to at this point. But they put this in the situation where they have this Drew Lock quarterback who's bad, and then, like you said, they go to Tommy DeVito, the feel good story. And I'll be honest, DeVito only played the first half. I kind of wish Tommy never played this year, just so he could at least stay the homegrown fun story who won 3 straight games. I mean, the guy, he just has no confidence to run a consistent passing attack. Like, it's just not there. It's like, it's not just first read, it's just first wide receiver you're looking at, or take a sack. Like, it's really ugly. The one touchdown drive that he had was 13 plays, 80 yards, and 41 yards on penalties. A defensive holding on 3rd and 4 where he missed Malik Nabers, who wasn't the guy that was held. A 15-yard roughing the passer on an incomplete 2nd and 17. And then an 18-yard defensive pass interference that got them to the 3-yard line, yet they were still 3rd and goal because DeVito took 2 sacks, and you get a hands to the face, they run the ball and score. And I do want to talk about old Timmy Boyle a little bit. But yeah, I don't feel bad for Joe Schoen at all. I do feel a little bit bad for Brian Daboll, but Joe Schoen has built this roster. He's let guys walk. He knew that there's a possibility of this happening, and like, you knew that you had a very strong possibility of Daniel Jones being benched at some point this year. And if you didn't, you had bad foresight. There's talks of it happening after week 1, Justin, and then he went out and played, decently against the Commanders, and then you have the Browns game the next week, and he holds on to that job for another 8 weeks or whatever it was. But just not prepared for that, like bad preparation for that. But this is, even then, Justin, man, this again, here's the difference between this and the 2021 team, and I'll give Shane some credit. The offensive line is not a disaster. Like, even without Andrew Thomas, the offensive line did a solid job today. They were able to protect. So the offensive line is not a disaster. So it doesn't look as ugly, but just product on the field where it's like you have no shot going into Sunday. You have no shot. No. The fans don't care. You're rooting for losses once again. The only difference is this time there's quarterbacks that people like, and not Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett. Like, that's the only difference. Like, they've put themselves in their situation. I finally released that video I've been teasing about, firing Joe Schoen. And
very well done.
I wanted to wait. I wanted to wait, build up evidence. And can they give me any reason why that they shouldn't be fired? And I just don't think they have. And Brian Daboll hasn't done. Again, I watched some of the play calls today, and I still do like Brian Daboll as a play caller. The 4th and 2 at the goal line. If Tim Boyle reads the linebacker, Wandale's open for a touchdown. That's where he should have went if he could redo that over again. So, like, I still like a lot of the 3rd downs with DeVito where it's like he just misses or just misses, doesn't have any confidence against some type of blitz look where it's like, if Daniel Jones was out there, do the Giants win this game? But they look a little more competent in the first half, at least. But they still put up, 7-10 points or whatever it is. Without DeVito and without that, franchise quarterback, or without Jones or without that a franchise quarterback, you just have no chance of that. Justin, I'm gonna text our guy to call in. Why don't you talk to us about something while I do that?
I will talk to you about something, and I'll talk to you about Captain Morgan, because today's episode is sponsored by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL. The NFL season is where legends are born on and off the field. Some are of last-second plays that turn the tide and change a team's destiny, while others are friends who follow the captain from within them to make a regular get-together into the stuff of legends. So grab your crew, grab a captain and a cola, and make it a story to remember, because legends start when you follow the captain. Visit followthecaptain.com for more. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spiced Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York. New York, you will be glad you did. Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the Talking Giants L16 tailgate. That's been an ongoing tradition that didn't just start this year when Captain Morgan joined up with us, but little did they know, unofficial partners for a couple years now. In all seriousness, as this year comes to an end, Captain Morgan's been with us every step of the way. Hopefully they're going to be with us next year a good amount too. So thank you so much to Captain Morgan, like one of our first really big blue chip brands that are working with us. So it's pretty damn cool, Bobby Skinner. Did I buy enough time? Oh, I'm getting the finger. I'm getting the finger. He's talking logistics. 4, 3, 2.
All right, we now welcome on to the show the guy who paid for the plane. What should we call you? Plane guy? What do you want us to call you?
You can just call me Miguel.
Miguel. Okay, I like that, Miguel. So first question And an article came out in NJ.com, so I was a little worried, like people think we're just talking to some random guy, but you are the same person from that article. I saw the receipt and emails from the plane company. My first question is: are you rich, and why do you want to be anonymous with this message? Because that's a lot of money to just put out on a plane.
I would say I'm comfortable, and I just don't want to focus on myself. I just want it to be on the message that Giants fans are frustrated and want to change. We don't want a repeat of Gettleman 2.0.
Yeah, it's smart. Did you pay for the first plane?
No. I had contacted the company shortly after the bye and scheduled it after the Ravens game because I figured that they would cover the 16.5-point spread.
Okay. So like what? So when and what inspired you to do it? Outside, obviously, the first plane is a little bit of a domino effect. But like, when did you seriously consider it and like lock it in? And what really inspired you about it?
Yeah, it was right after the bye week, probably Thanksgiving when we lost to the Cowboys. Was really when I reached out, locked in, and I had to adjust the message to meet what was allowed to be flied. So it took some time to get there. And really, it was just the fact that, once again in the press conference, the press conference almost made us sound as if we were dumb. And we reached the point of, it's evident there's not a process because we're going from Daniel Jones to DeVito to Law.
Right. Yeah. What was the message that they didn't let you do?
I specifically wanted to say fire Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, but they couldn't say that directly, so I had to make it an adjustment.
So with the Mr. Mara part on it, because I saw some people joke, like, I like how we're polite in it. What's the reasoning behind that, or are you just kind of using what the first guy did?
No, I was going back to the 1980s message. That's kind of where I drew the original inspiration.
What did I forgot what the first one said. It's been a long week. Justin, do you remember what the first one said?
Hold, please.
All right, Justin's looking that up. So obviously the message is that you want Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll gone, and I think you see the part of the problems that Mara contributes to it, but like John Mara's not going anywhere. Like, what would be the main message you want to convey to John Mara?
I think the main message is we're not close. This regime has consistently underperformed, at least since this roster has taken shape underneath their vision. And we've gotten worse year over year, so we've lost faith in their ability to lead us.
Right. Justin, do you have anything for him? Do you listen to Talking Giants at all?
Yeah. I actually gave Justin the code for NFL head coach a while ago. So, been a long time fan.
The code for NFL. Justin was like, I remember Justin doing pairs. Wasn't that during like COVID, Justin?
Yeah, that was like COVID, right? Yeah, I was just obsessed with NFL head coach, yeah.
I think Justin did a little better than what we've got now. Justin, what did that plane say? Sorry, I can't hear this end.
Mr. Mara, do better.
Mr. Mara, do better. Okay. So
thank you to Doug Analytics.
Miguel, any last words before we let you roll?
Talking Giants for the versus the world, and shout out to the Giants Football Friends group. That kind of helped me put together this message.
All right, cool. Shout out to them. Shout out Miguel. All right, man. We're gonna let you go. We're gonna finish the show. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me. Talking Giants versus the world.
See ya. All right.
Trey also says, Mr. Mara, please fix this dumpster fire. So basically, yeah, please fix it. It was a referring back to last week. Like last week's plane was very similar to the 70s.
I kind of like that. It's a little polite where it's just like, hey, this is not me being just angry.
We kind of, I mean, there were some people
I like that he doesn't want it to be about himself, where he's like, "Oh, this is my company." Because we joked about what we really want something to do on Friday, because there's something that we were really pissed off about, Justin.
Yeah, there are some people in this world that thought that shirt was disrespectful to John Mara, and it's like, no, first of all, it didn't say F John Mara on the shirt. It just said it was Mr. Merritt, please fix the stumps Friday. That's not disrespecting the owner. It's
But
don't
regardless,
lose
like
games.
yeah, but
Some
the
people in
old,
this world didn't like it.
but I'm kind of glad that he's not trying to this is an ad for whatever car dealership or
No, and all about me. No, listen, man. This is when fandom works at its best. This is kind of what it is. This is kind of what it is. We all want change. We want this team to win, man. Regardless of what you think about this player, what they should do in the draft, or what you think about Daniel Jones. We want them to win, man. It's what the fan base wants.
So yeah, go check out the NJ.com by Ryan Novo. I got to get his name right. We got to talk to him. Like, just tell us how to say your name. Justin, back to this game. Actually, let's finish up the plane thing, because we have another one with the Colts.
There was 2 planes today.
Yeah, I saw a great job by the governor, because
I loved it.
That was very extreme. Or I don't know if it's the governor or the guy running for governor, but
he's running for governor. Murphy's term is up.
Very, very smart on his end.
Yeah. Apparently, he's done it at Rutgers games. Like, I texted my buddy Antonio, who works in government. He's like, "Oh, he does that at Rutgers games." But I'm like, I don't know what political party this guy is. I don't know what he stands for, but he's already 50% got my vote, because he just understands the pulse of New Jersey and what's going on.
Yeah. But here's the thing, is because I was like, it does have to be embarrassing. And you see the players being asked, and they're just like, another one, serious? Like, and to me, this is not, this is fans being this really is just a product of, like, this is how bad we are. The people would, instead of, like, we want to go out there and support them and watch them win. Instead, know what our energy is being, put to? Someone spending, a couple grand on a plane. I'm texting Justin being like, make sure you're on alert for a plane. Like, that's where we're at as a team. Yeah. Where the
you want to know why?
Is the biggest
and I'm gonna interrupt you.
Because they stink.
I'm gonna interrupt you. Giants fans may not always show up to games, right? Because they shouldn't. But Giants fans, year in and year out, we're gonna pay our PSLs. We're gonna pay for our regular season tickets. So when you have certain reporters that are being like, "Oh, well, look at the attendance, and look at how many tickets were bought for today. The stadium is still packed." No, it's not. Giants fans are still going to buy. Like, if you really want to send a message to John Mara, you got to hit him in his pockets and don't pay. We're going to pay, man. I'm telling you what. My PSLs. My father a long time ago paid thousands of dollars for PSLs to own the right for the seats. I'm paying for them every year, because if I give them away for even 1 year, I got to pay that PSL again. And guess what? I don't want to freaking do that. So Giants fans, every single year, they're going to pay for those seats. And there's a lot of Giants fans like myself who, no matter what the circumstances, they're going to show up and they're going to show out. So in order for this owner, to get the message through his thick skull, because they've done the same things. Like, we thought that John Mara and Brian Daboll was like straying away from the norm, right? And going outside the building. In order for the owner to get it through his thick skull, this is what this fan base, we need to do dramatic things like this.
You know why we feel the need? Because someone after my Joe Shane video texted me, and we were just talking a little bit, and he's like, the lack of accountability in the Jones era was staggering. It's not Jones' fault because insert whatever. The excuse making was endless. This came from the regime. They embody it. You cannot fairly judge this player because of X, Y, and Z. You muddy the waters on everything. Now the GM and head coach cannot be judged fairly because of insert whatever. There is responsibility, and then there is accountability. They come hand in hand. If you are responsible for the roster construction and performance of the NYG, then you should be held accountable for the results of the New York Giants.
Yes.
Their reluctance to realistically analyze their results is a disaster, and is why they cannot hold anyone accountable for anything. That is the issue with for the New York Giants over the last 10 years, because it was well, we can't, like let's fire Tom Coughlin and keep Jerry Reese, right? And then that ends up burning down with Ben McAdoo, and it's like, all right, but all the wide receivers got injured and this. All right, let's build it back up. Let's get Saquon Barkley and make another run with it. And it's like you said, it's the reason why Dave Gettleman wasn't fired after year 2. It's like, oh well, he didn't. He's only been here for 2 years. Instead of being like, has he done a good job after 2 years? It's why they didn't fire Dave Gettleman after the year 3. Well, Joe Judge is here now, and it looks a little better. And they consistently do that, and they just don't hold themselves accountable as a franchise.
And who's been promoted? Who's been promoted from scout to whatever to director of player personnel? Who's been promoted through all this shit?
Exactly. So it'd be one thing if Tim McDonald has a job as a scout. I still don't love it, but it is the reality. Is like there's going to be nepotism in the NFL in the front office. But to have the balls to keep promoting a guy to where now he's a director of player personnel in your worst stretch of football, in this awful stretch of football, that he keeps getting promoted, and now he is the guy who is in the GM's ear. Anytime they're out and it's a big, like, the main guys need to be there. Who is it? It's Joe Schoen, it's Brandon Brown, it's Tim McDonald, right? You saw it on Hard Knocks. You see it when you're at the Senior Bowl. You see it at the Combine. It's those are the 3 guys. And that guy's been promoted. Unless he's the only guy in that building who's smart and thinking things through, then you're in a tough spot. But
I highly doubt that.
It's just frustrating, and it's frustrating to come on these podcasts and not talk about the games. Let's talk about the game a little bit, Justin.
Yeah.
What do you think of Tim Boyle? Like, it was nice to see a guy who, like, all right, he reads spacing, he pulls the trigger when he sees something instead of second and third guessing himself. Not reinventing the wheel, but I know with confidence he understands football better than anyone in that room right now. Created a couple of defensive pass interferences with back shoulders and trusted his guys first man, like that throw to Wan'Dale Robinson. Now it's like, all right, well, Wan'Dale Robinson back shoulders probably not the best idea, but just trusting your guy. The issue is he can't really move at all, and had missed throws and ended it with an F-it throw, which I don't hold against him too much. And the Giants O-line I thought protected really well today. But like, are we seriously? Do you think we're coming away from this and being like, is Tim Boyle the best quarterback on the roster? Like, I might do a poll for that right now.
I think we need to see a full game before we say, is he better than Drew Lock? But he operated the way that I hoped Drew Lock would operate all this time, Bobby. I don't think Daboll's necessarily running this complex offense right now. I don't think he is. But what he is kind of trying to beg his quarterbacks to do is, can you please just try and throw the goddamn ball down the field? And Tim Boyle's the first guy to be like, yeah, coach, I'll do it. And I'm glad, hey, Ravens pass defense isn't that great. How many bad defenses have we played all year?
Oh, yeah.
All year we've played horrible defenses, and none of these guys have done it. So Tim Boyle, like, a little bit, it was refreshing. You know how Daboll's talked about a spark? Well, I went to Drew for a spark, or, we're looking for a spark from Tommy. Going to Tim Boyle out of necessity was the biggest spark that we've gotten out of quarterback all year.
Yeah, it truly was. And like you saw with Malik Nabers. Like, Malik Nabers in the first half from Tommy DeVito had 5 catches for 29 yards. Were giving them little push passes and screens. Second half is when you saw Malik Nabers, and they actually had a 20-yarder taken off the board because of an illegal formation. But in the second half, he has the 5 catches, 53 yards, and the touchdown. You saw the whole shot from Boyle. That was honestly, that was almost a little too confident for Tim Boyle on that one, where it's like at the corner kind of was right there. He had the back shoulder touchdown to Malik Nabers. And Malik Nabers just played really well in this game. Had the out route from Tommy DeVito. Got banged up a little bit, but it was good to see Tim Boyle do something that was like, all right, this at least just looks like normal bad football, and not like this quarterback can't be trusted to do anything type of football. Which
and the carousel again,
the last couple weeks.
The carousel again. He's got to start next week.
So here's the thing: is Tommy's going to be in concussion protocol, which if they want him to practice through that, they can. If it's something where he won't miss the game. Here's the thing: is I have no clue what they're gonna do. Like,
I don't think they have a clue of what they're gonna do.
No, And because they've been so wishy-washy within these quarterbacks and haven't had
Yeah.
any conviction on any of them, it's like, all right, well, it's like, yeah, they will just go by the seat of their pants. But
Yeah, so that's why I think Boyle I think he needs to play. Why not?
where are you with Malik Nabers? He's close.
Yeah.
He's closing in on 1,000 yards. He'll break the Giants' rookie reception record next game with 2 catches. Odell and Saquon are tied with that for 91. He's got over 900 yards, like I said, in 12 games, which is not Odell level, but obviously different situations. And like I'm still at least there's something we get to look forward to watching. Like it's like, all right, what do you look forward to watching on Sundays with the New York Giants? It's like I get to watch Malik Nabers.
Yeah, Malik Nabers. I'll tell you what, man. As a fan, I've gained a tremendous amount of respect for him over these last 2-3 weeks. Stemming from the bye week and Jones being benched, we're like, I don't know, man. We're questioning effort. Heard some things about effort. Obviously what he's saying in the media, but let's just put the media thing on a side right now. Focus on what he's doing on the field. He's not right. He's not healthy. He hasn't been healthy for a couple weeks now. Yet he's open on almost every single play. And the fight that he showed today, I mean, Chris Manhertz is stepping on him. He gets, even after he scored that touchdown, looks like he's kind of hurt again, gets right back up. I mean, dude's a baller, man. The respect that I've gained for him over these last couple weeks, forget early in the season where, hey, stuff is going well. The Giants won 2-ish football games early in the year, and Malik Nabers is setting the world on fire and, leading the NFL in targets, receptions, yards. I've gained the respect for him now where it's dirty, it's gritty, shit hasn't gone right. Your quarterback sucks, the team sucks, yet he's the guy on offense where, there's some guys on defense that are fighting whatever because they're like UDFAs, but that's the guy on offense. That's the guy on offense that's fighting his ass off the most. And he could very well, and the Giants could very well say, you know what, man, shut it down. Shut it down for the rest of the year. You got issues, you got a hip, you got an ankle, you got whatever. Shut it down. You're a first-round draft pick. He's not. And he's balling, and he looks good, and he's fighting out there. So I've gained a lot of respect for Malik Nabers the last couple of weeks. I've really enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, he's got the security to shut it down, and he hasn't. So he's been really nice to see. And you also see that Brian Daboll is trying to get him the ball in this. So I want to talk about Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, and then the defense a little bit. Just before that, today's episode is sponsored by Corona. You know what I always try to be? A fan that never loses. Here's what I mean. My team doesn't win every single week, but even when they lose, I'm still loving the game because whether it's a big deep ball, some third and short conversions, or just a great tailgate out in the parking lot, there's always something to cheer for. And the best beer to pair with awesome moments, Corona. Corona is all about finding the maximum amount of joy within every moment of the game, win or lose, at home or on the road. It's the perfect beer to go along with watching football and all the moments that come with it. So cheers to everyone who loves the game beyond the scoreboard. Corona, for the fans who never lose. Get yours at ordercorona.com for 21 plus. Relax responsibly. Corona extra beer imported by Crown Import, Chicago, Illinois. You'll be glad you did. I'll show you tornado. Justin, thank you. So it's no more tailgates for the year unless we decide to do the Colts game.
We're not doing the Colts game.
Unless we decide to do the Colts games. Corona's been a big part of that. So we are.
Yeah, every game, every tailgate, Corona's been there. Thank you very much to Corona. Hopefully they're back next year. They're going to be with us at the Senior Bowl, which is really, really cool. If you want to get close to our hearts, sponsor that Senior Bowl trip. Did you see that picture that I got?
Yeah, that was a great picture.
It was the plane, the banner, and then a Corona in hand. That was one of the best pictures I've ever taken. So thank you to Corona.
I just want to leave this note. One of the fallouts of benching your best QB in Daniel Jones is the other players who see their production struggle. You know what, two guys? Oh my God, we're live.
Oh no, he's sneezing. I'm guessing. I mean, really, everybody's the production of everybody kind of fell off. Like
no,
Tracy,
Nabers has been good.
Slayton,
Wandale doesn't have the same amount of targets and receptions, but he's got about the same amount of yards. To me, it's Tracy and Slayton.
Yeah.
Tracy in the 4 games since they benched Daniel Jones has 44 carries for 150 yards, 3.4 yards per carry, which isn't like terrible for a 4-game stretch. But when you have over 5 yards per carry before that, like you just see that teams are like, all right, well, they have these guys at quarterback. We don't have to take the run game seriously at all, or the pass game seriously at all. And the other one is This guy has not been used in the slot, obviously, so he's not going to get the targets that every slot receiver gets. He's not their number one wide receiver. Darius Slayton. In 4 games, and listen, he dropped a couple passes in these 4 games. And last game, it was probably the most frustrated I've been with Darius Slayton in a while. 5 catches for 51 yards. You know what he was averaging per game before that?
Maybe like 2.5 catches for 40 some yards.
52 yards per game, which is not great or amazing, but like he was on pace to like have 800 receiving yards. He's in the last 4 games, he's had less receiving yards than what he was averaging before that.
Yeah.
And then like you said, Nabers is staying the same because they're going to force feed him. Wandale, even when he was getting a ton of targets, his production wasn't good. He's still last in yards per catch, but he at least is getting like that 30 to 40 yards per game that he was getting beforehand. But I can't believe like the production has dipped that much for Darius Slayton. Bright side is if they do want to bring him back, or the new regime wants to bring him back, is that
Very cheap.
He's lowering his price.
Yeah.
Or he'll get like Darnell Mooney, like his stats got really bad at the end after putting out that 1,000-yard season for the Bears. Like last year, Mooney had 414 yards, so Slayton has more than that. But
yeah,
man, Mooney had 2 back-to-back less than 500-yard seasons and got paid. So maybe Slayton still will get like that $13 million deal, which I'm willing to pay him. But yeah, the production has struggled. Mooney was like top 5 in receiving the NFL like 3 weeks ago. So Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll in this game, big picture. So Daboll, I think, has done a good job of not saying anything in these press conferences. Like you said, with the whole like lose quietly. If you see him start talking, I haven't seen Daboll defend himself once.
No.
Not since Daniel Jones was here and he threw some stuff on DJ.
Mm-hmm.
And
which
then
again, they made him the face of losing this year.
Some of the lock turnover stuffs, but you have not seen him defend himself once, and I think that's smart on his end if he wants to save his job. Because once you start defending yourself, then you're in a bad situation. Once you saw Pat Shurmur start defending, like, all right, well, we got a very young defense. We got some money that we can spend this offseason. Daniel Jones has done what we want. That's where you're at. But was there anything like specifically game-wise from this game where you were like bothered with Brian Daboll? I know they were aggressive on. He freaked out on that 4th and 1. I think it was just because they didn't get it. Now you know me, Justin. I'm no fan of the QB sneak. But I'm also not going to act like that's the dumbest play call in the world. It's very commonplace for 4th and 1. The only other thing I saw people maybe be a little critical of was when they got down to the 2-yard line, second
and they
goal,
threw
third
it,
and goal.
And they threw it all those times, yeah.
I don't even – it's not even the decision to throw. I hate throwing fades. I hate fades so much.
Yeah, they do that
such
one
a
play.
Low probability plays.
Was that Tim Boyle throwing it at that time too?
Yeah, it was Tim Boyle.
So, I mean, Tim Boyle hasn't thrown a single pass. I mean, I feel like the end zone fade, like I feel like you gotta have chemistry with your wide receiver, and you gotta be able to practice that shit. And it's not even a good play to begin with. I just hate it. But I mean, Eli throwing it to Hakeem Nicks. Yeah, they've thrown 10,000 balls back and forth. Eli to Plaxico Burress. Yeah, 10,000 balls they've thrown back and forth to each other. Tim Boyle, Malik Nabers before this game. Malik Nabers said in his post-game presser, hey, how many balls have you caught from Tim Boyle so far since he's been a Giant? Malik Nabers said 0. So, yeah, that's not exactly it's not a high probability play to begin with. And then when you combine a quarterback has never thrown Malik Nabers the ball, it's even less of a probability play. So,
yeah. Defensively, they were never going to do good anyways, but with the Jimmies and Joes that are injured, I mean, this game was just, they had the forced fumble in the first drive and the second drive punt, and then the Ravens scored 5 straight touchdowns after that. I mean, it was just, the safety play was terrible. The run defense started getting worn down. You just can't be overly aggressive against the Ravens with this level of talent. And the Giants started like falling for the play action fakes heavy, and just their safety play stinks. Pinnock is not a good cover safety deep. He gets over influenced easily. Belton, I can't. Belton, I hate this because Belton seems like a nice guy. I don't think there's anybody on this team besides maybe Evan Neal that I enjoy just watching play football less than Dane Belton, because it's just like you never do anything that's just like overly impressive to me, which sounds really harsh saying because he's a backup safety and I shouldn't be that hard. But I'm just like, anytime he's near play, I'm just like, blah.
To be fair, that was my draft eval of him. I don't know what you do well was my draft eval of him. Yeah, it's tough to say anything about this defense, knowing how many guys they're down, and Isaiah Simmons got significant playing time as a linebacker today, which was something. It 14 attempts for 67. I mean, Lamar Jackson killed him. 14 attempts, 67 yards. It's still 4.8 yards per carry, but only a long run of 13 yards. I mean, I think Derrick Henry, they said on the post-game show, Derrick Henry has 11 runs of 25 plus yards this year. So the fact that the Giants held him to 14 for 67, all right.
Dude, the post game show, because I have it in the background because I'm waiting for the press conference for Brian.
Do you listen
Daboll.
to the YouTube version or do you listen to the radio?
The YouTube version. I want to hear what you were talking about with the radio version in our text earlier. But the radio version, it's like, I don't know how these guys do this without just like losing their mind. They're like, like they have
it's
to like
tough.
grasp at straws to the positive because they can't just trash the team.
No, they can't.
I don't know how they
stay
do
positive.
it. It would drive me nuts. Like I would like start like ripping my hair out and screaming, being like, I'm tired of this shit.
Yeah,
And
some
they
of
just
them do.
like, the run defense wasn't there. This is not a team that's quit on them. Blah blah. What did the radio version have to say?
I mean, it's the same thing of hey, they showed effort. At one point it was 14-7, and then the Giant, then the Baltimore Ravens go on that minute and a half drive at the end of the first half to make it 21-7. They talked about the injuries. Hey, you got guys that are back into the roster guys. I mean, what was interesting though is
the broadcast tried to do that too. The play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
And that made me sick. Do not blame this fucking season on injuries. Don't even dare think that you can blame this season on injuries.
I mean,
this
if
season
anything,
they were fairly healthy until the last 3 weeks. Until after the Bucs game, that's when they started having these injuries. The only injury before that was Andrew Thomas. Seriously, what injury? They had Andrew Thomas was injured before the Bucs game. Who else?
Nobody really.
Yeah, nobody. Literally nobody was injured before the Bucs game. So please don't put this shit on fucking injury.
Yeah.
Like congrats, you might have won the Saints game at full health. Just drove me nuts that they try and give them that excuse. But we also are at the point where the broadcast is showing Joe Schoen up in the booth every single week at the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I tweeted it and I was like, CBS Sports show Joe.
I saw that. Then 1 minute later they did.
Literally less than a minute, like probably like 15 seconds later they showed him. And it was like people probably thought that I already saw that when I tweeted it.
Yeah,
but
no, the one interesting nugget, and this is how you know that John, like you asked Dan Duggan last week, is John Mara bothered by the plane? Which I think you knew the answer of that. But how you know that John Mara is bothered by the plane is that Bob Papa in the radio, Bob Papa's not on the YouTube version, but Bob Papa's on 101.9 FM with John Schmelk and Jonathan Casillas. Sometimes Carl Banks hops in during those post games too. The last 2 weeks, Bob Papa is just destroyed media members asking players about the plane. He's like, well, these guys are getting ready to play. These guys are getting ready to, play a football game. They're not looking up and paying attention. They're playing for their jobs, which is true. But what do you expect the reporters not to? They're going to ask about it. Like
they're on social media. They see that shit. Okay, I see them reposting the videos of them with their little fashion walk-ins before the game. They see it. Don't act like they didn't see it.
Dane Belton looked incredible before the game today, by the way. Look up that
incredibly ridiculous, in my opinion.
No, I disagree. Look up that pregame fit if you get the chance. Dane Belton before the game. Yeah, but that's how you know that John. If Bob Papa is really bothered by it, like Bob Papa and John Mara are very, very close. So that's how you know that it bothers him.
So yeah, but again, I do think Daboll's been somewhat of a good soldier in all this, but it's just I feel like they've lost control.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get worse over three more games now. Again, 0-8 at home is really bad, dude.
Like,
I don't. They'll be the first team to ever lose 9 games at home, most likely. Most likely, the Colts. Anthony Richardson is like 2 plays away from tanking in a game. And did you see Shane Steichen with the little
oh my god
double pass? And it's like, you fucking idiot, you dumb idiot, drove me nuts. And I wasn't even rooting for the Colts in that game. I was rooting for the real horses and the Broncos.
Yeah.
But that averaging 10 points per game, like Like, that's why those plans are happening. It's because, like, you are a terrible product. Like, you are a god-awful, terrible product. And there's nothing outside of Malik Nabers that is just redeeming to watch.
No.
Like, it's just it sucks, dude. It sucks to be this late in the year, and it's just like, all right, hopefully wait until the season's over. Let's wait until that's when the important things are going to happen. Like the games in December should be the important part of being this part of the schedule being the football. When you're a fucking New York Giants fan, it's like, let's get this over and so we can get to the important part, which is January and who gets hired and fired and who do we draft in April, right? Like Chiefs fans, guess what? The Chiefs podcast, I don't think they look forward to the draft the same way me and Justin do.
No,
I really don't. I don't think that they put, I don't think they look at the Senior Bowl and being like, oh, like, you know what? They probably just don't even go. They don't even go because like,
they're getting ready to play football. They're getting ready to play a football game the next week.
Yeah.
Or they're recapping the game that they played just 2 days before the Senior Bowl.
Yeah. Like it sucks, dude. But yeah, defensive them is just awful. They were pitiful, bad players.
All three of their starting corners are not playing, and you would like to see them play. And
then you lose Newman, and then the D line's injured. I mean, it's just a big pop. Why don't you talk to us about something, Justin, before we we cap it all off?
Yeah, we have one more thing to talk about, and oh boy, some may even argue that we saved the best for last because today's episode is sponsored by the Candlewick Diner. It is the go-to place for pre- and post-game meals during Giants game day. 55 years in East Rutherford, serving Giants fans for over 5 decades. And guess what? They've been catering our tailgate since 2021. It used to just be, before it was like this big old formal thing, it used to just be, Candlewick Diner, they're just going to bring food a couple times a year and just come hang out. Just come hang out. Come free for all. So Candlewick Diner's been with us since 2021.
They're the best. I'm craving some right now.
So next year, can you believe it that next year is going to be 5 years? Because 2021, 22, 23, 24, 2025 will be the 5th year that we're working with them and that we're partners with them. How do you like that?
You got to do a big celebration. Like talking like the Giants do with their 100-year anniversary. We'll do something like that.
Yeah. Located a mile up the road from MetLife, they have a full-service bar, in-house bakery, and free delivery. And you never know what Giants player you may run into in there either. Extensive menu from breakfast to burgers to steaks to pasta. Check out the Candlewick Diner in East Rutherford, New Jersey for all your diner favorites. You will be glad you did. Thank you to Candlewick.
Yeah, you'll be glad you did. Candlewick's the best. Like I'm literally craving it right now, listening to you talk about it.
I know.
I'm sitting in one of those booths right now waiting for my pesto omelet. So 3 games left of this, Justin. I had a thought after the game where I'm just like, I'm really looking forward to see who the good guy award is, and then we get to do the Tony Award and all that. Like that, those are the things I'm looking forward to. One quick at the end. We did this. Do you think they will? Thing 2 weeks ago, the Danny King episode, and then we talked when you were out, and then talked to you on the preview. Two games later, and a Dan Duggan interview, which I was surprised how confidently he said he thinks they will. Do you think they survive this?
No, I don't. Not anymore. No.
What do you think's the biggest thing that's changed besides 2 losses?
National embarrassment.
I think the planes and the empty stadiums. I think it's just getting so ugly, and you're going to be 0-9 at home. You're 0-8. I think it's just all accumulating into one.
It's all snowballing. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's all just snowballing, even like to the worst degree that it could be snowballing. It is.
I'm saving the end of season polls for the last week. But like I kind of desperately want to do it again because it's like how we got it down to under 50% of people wanting them. I think it's probably going to be less than 30% of people who want to bring them back at this point.
They're not fielding it. They're not. This is what it comes down to. They're not fielding anything close to a competitive football team in year 3 of this regime. It's not close to competitive. How can you if the postseason press conference? Like, how can you sit there or stand there and tell me forget talking Giants, forget Oh, you're a fan online. I'm even thinking of myself as like a paying customer of the Giants. How can you tell me that this team is headed in the right direction? You can't, because you are not you can't even field a functioning football team. That they can't even get through a game. Forget losing. They can't even get through a game and
All
compete.
the only thing they can sell us on is like, oh, but if we get a franchise quarterback, that'll be sick. That's the only thing. Like, there's the only thing that they can point to from their 3 years of roster building is the 2024 draft class, which again, I'm going to need the second and third round pick DBs to have more than a combined 1 pass breakup and 0 interceptions to crown that as a great draft class. You know, Theo Johnson has the same amount of receiving yards as Daniel Bellinger did in about the same amount of games. You guys, and I have stake in that one. Theo Johnson was my tight end too. Tracy a hit, Malik Nabers a hit at 6 overall, but like you're gonna have to sell me on more than that.
I was driving down to Snacks' holiday party on Saturday in silence, by the way, like a freak. And I thought of Joe Schoen and Hard Knocks. Remember how Joe Schoen was just joking and laughing about, hey, I'll go out there and play corner. And it's like at the time we were like, oh, ha, that's really funny, Joe Schoen. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute. Didn't he fucking draft like that cornerback room where he was joking about like Cordell Flott, inside, outside, Deontay Banks, this cornerback one. So he's laughing and joking at Hard Knocks about, oh, I'll go up there and I'll play corner. It's like, bro, you had like 2 years to build the secondary.
And honestly,
So
the one that's performing the best is the one he really didn't want to draft in Drew Phillips because he wanted to get, he wanted to get one in the second round.
Yeah.
You know, like that's another thing is like, all right, let's say if they did draft Lassiter or Kool-Aid, right? And they had that second round pick, and he doesn't take Drew Phillips in the third round.
No, he
despite
doesn't.
the fact that like he at that time was, what he would tell us is that he wouldn't have taken Drew Phillips at that point.
No.
So, all right, Justin, that's an episode. We'll be back on Wednesday with some form of mailbag. I think we can kind of talk through my video because the video got a lot of attention.
As it should. It was. I'm serious. I'm not even. You don't like compliments. It was very well done. Went to a a holiday party on Saturday where there were some other Giants fans there. We talked through. It's like, man, like it was very, very well done. And usually you'll get people on YouTube that are like, man, you can nitpick this little point.
It changed people's minds, which I like to hear.
I really don't think in all of the 30. So really, check out if you didn't see Bobby's video. It's 36 minutes. He put it out a couple days ago. It was before the Dan Duggan preview pod. That wasn't a preview pod. I don't think out of all 36 minutes there wasn't like you disputed like every if and or but in there. I thought it was very well done.
I'm getting a call right now.
From who?
I can't say.
Can't pick it up?
No. If I picked it up on the pod, it might just be like, you're live to tape. All right, Justin, that's an episode. We'll talk through that on Wednesday. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.